Time now for a review of what's making headlines in the papers this morning. And let's bring in a RISE analyst, Constance Ikoku, as she's joining us from Lagos. Good morning.
Good morning. You just woke up. I've been in Lagos since Monday.
You've been in Lagos since Monday. You know,
welcome
I was
back
in
from
Lagos
sabbatical. You are the one that has been away.
I was in
Both
Lagos
of you have been in
Oh,
Lagos
okay.
and you didn't know?
You.
Yes. I was at the This Day Awards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you should have joined us in the studio.
No,
Well,
we needed
since
her
Monday.
here. Excuse me.
Okay, well, welcome back, everybody. To look at the papers with us this morning, we have Iyo Akerera. He is a member of the Nigerian Guild of Editors. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with This Day newspaper. Obanikoro accuses Access Bank of using his property as collateral for 1 billion naira loan without his consent. A heavy accusation right there. The story is that Access Bank granted a 1 billion loan to DDSS International Company Limited, with a loan belonging to MOB Integrated Services run by Mr. Gbolahan Obanikoro, unknown to him. This occurred in 2019, and the letter was signed by Bukola Shoyombo, a relationship officer in Access Bank, and Oroluwa Roy Ebekon, a relationship manager as well. The property was located at Bodilon Road in Ikoyi, and the complaint of stealing was later filed against the bank. The bank is also accused of conspiracy and attempted theft, and the 4-count charge before Justice Ibironke Harrison of Lagos State High Court. What a story. I mean, looks like insider shady dealings. Access Bank certainly has a case to answer here, doesn't it, Iyo?
Well, absolutely. It's unfortunate that we keep having these reports and stories from the banks. Recently, the Nigerian banks have been a bit shaky. We know the story of what happened to First Bank, the crisis in First Bank, and now Access Bank. This is a serious one. Bamora company owned by the Obanikoros in 2013 apparently used that property for a loan. And then the loan had been liquidated. So at what point did the same bank decide to use the same property as a collateral without consent of the original owners, to advance a fresh loan to DDSS, So the courts will determine that. Whatever we say here will be a bit prejudicial. But as it is, I think this is another scam that's rocking the banking sector. This time, it's Access Bank. Maybe next time, another bank. The CBN has to do something about this because it's a regulatory, it's the bankers bank, the Apex Bank that is supposed to oversee banking operations across the country. So we wait to see what the CBN will do on this. But it's actually very embarrassing.
You're correct that, you're correct that the court has to decide. That's why you're a lawyer. How do you see this playing out? Well, I guess we can't say much about it, but it also throws a spotlight on Nigerian banks and all the kind of dealings that happen inside.
Definitely. As you said, I can't say much about a case that, we're still learning the facts of. I can't really say how a court would decide. But one thing that we do need to talk about is when we're talking about global best practices, when it comes to our banks, are we following that? Because our financial system is one that is incredibly important for the stability of our country. If our banking system is not stable, if we have illegalities going on in our banking system, that those vulnerabilities can cause chaos.
Certainly it can. Let's move on to Daily Sun newspaper. PDP camps fight dirty over secretaryship. Thugs invade National Secretariat at disrupt BOT meeting. There was apparently commotion at the National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party yesterday when supporters of two wings or two factions for the secretary position clashed with each other. As we know, there's been some kind of tussle between Samuel Anyanwu and Sunday Okoye, who have been locked in a legal tussle over the rightful national secretary. This clash unfolded at a meeting of the Board of Trustees. And the acting national chairman, Omar Damagu, and the BOT chairman, Adolphus Wabara, were said to have traded words over this incident. and of course the crisis that is also rocking the National Working Committee. I mean, in many circles, this is being viewed as a show of shame, a kind of a motor park scene that unfolded, and that, questions about the fitness of some of these lead people to lead EO.
Well, the crisis in the PDP has been lingering for a while, and I think many people are concerned. Most Nigerians who are looking forward to the PDP playing a virile opposition to the ruling All Progressives Congress will be disappointed with what happened yesterday. Yes, it is also a demonstration of people's lack of will to obey court orders. Yes, an Enugu High Court had earlier, ruled in favor of Ude as the national secretary of the party, and that was upheld by an appeal court. But again, another appeal court in Abuja, nullified all of that and recognized Anyanwu as the national secretary. So we have courts of coordinate. I'm not a lawyer. The good thing is that we have a lawyer here. Courts of coordinates, jurisdiction of powers, giving judgments and rulings that also creates confusion. But be that as it may, beyond even Anyanwu and Ude Okoye, you have, just as you rightly said, you have the acting chairman of the PDP, Umar Damagum, who is also taking on the BOT chairman, quarreling, and all that, and the thugs invading the place, people climbing over the fence yesterday. He took the intervention of security agencies, the police, NSCDC, and the army to bring the situation under control. In the midst of all of this, Nigerians still believe in the PDP as a political party. If you look at some of the states where the PDP have their governors, they are doing very, very well. Enugu State, Delta State, Bayelsa State, Rivers State, doing very, very well. In fact, this day gave award to the Delta State governor just a few days back, and that of Enugu State, where a lot of development is taking place in those states. So the PDP needs to put its house in order so that it can, going ahead, maybe by 2027, we hope that the PDP would have been able to consolidate on its internal, unity and then try to move forward. But as it is, the signs are really disturbing. People are worried that with what is happening in the PDP,
definitely,
we are losing a lot.
Definitely. I really agree with you calling it a show of shame, and it makes me reflect a little bit on Nasir El-Rufai's recent comments when he talked about how we need people with better character in our political system. He said we're being run by illiterate, semi-illiterates, and cunning people. And when you see certain behavior like this, then you have to say maybe there is some credibility to what El-Rufai is saying, because this is no way to comport yourself as a grown human being in any way, and talk less of somebody in a political system seeking political leadership or seeking to, lead a political party. And as you said, people do look to the PDP and the Labour Party as opposition parties, as people who should, speak for the Nigerian people and engage with the current APC government. And we've seen crisis in both parties.
Right. And that's why you don't even want to start with El-Rufai. I mean, people will have something to say about his 8 years in Kaduna State. So yes, he does have some points, but he also has his own issues. Charles, you wanted to jump in.
Messenger, but I also think that it doesn't make the message any less valid when we're seeing it play out here. If we're being told that people are, if there are allegations that people are being paid to disrupt political parties or disrupt the opposition parties, then we must think about foundationally how strong is our democracy, and that's important no matter who it is coming from.
From a very personal perspective.
Charles, I'd like to bring you...
Yeah, go on.
Okay, quickly go on.
Now, Arise News went to great lengths to bring this story and took great risks. Our correspondent, Mary Chinda, was actually assaulted by thugs at that event and even sustained, well, not life-threatening injuries, but I mean, she was pretty much shaken. And that speaks volumes about the nature and character of our politics. I know that inter-party thuggery was a common theme, but this time around within the PDP itself, even with the presence of law enforcement officials at that event, actually thugs had their own day in the sun. And if the People's Democratic Party can't keep it together, then what kind of major opposition is that even in the All Progressives Congress, all is not well. But in the People's Democratic Party, it's absolutely chaotic. I mean, check out what went on. Almost like someone trying to box somebody
Look, the
else.
fighting stance.
Oh, yes.
What a shame.
Okay, we have to go. Yeah, it's so unfortunate. Let's move on to a new Telegraph. How Max Air nose wheel collapsed with a bang. NSIB launches probe as airline suspends domestic flights for 3 months. The airline's Boeing 737 suffered a nose wheel landing gear collapse and rear tire burst while landing at the Malam Amin International Airport on Tuesday. This is classified as a serious incident and occurs when the front landing gear of an aircraft fails to properly support the aircraft during landing, takeoff, or taxiing. There were 53 passengers and 6 crew members who later disembarked safely. The crew regained control and brought the aircraft to a stop. Again, EO safety, as always, is of paramount concern. If they need 6 months to be off so they can take care of themselves or recalibrate the airline, then they need to do that.
Yes, it's worrisome. Recently, the Nigerian civil aviation environment has been very stable, has been very peaceful, but with these recent occurrences, the incidents, particularly involving Max Air, this is about the second incident in about a month or two. Yes, involving Max Air. That brings to the fore the serviceability of our aircraft, whether, aircraft operators are prioritizing profit over safety. This is an issue for conversation. People are worried. I can imagine if I were in that aircraft, because from what we've seen or we've read, the aircraft landed with a bang, and swept to the left of the runway 06 at the Malam Aminu Kano International Airport in Kano. So I can just imagine how shaken, how frightened the passengers would be. It's a good thing that the airline has suspended operation for 3 months. We hope that the NSIB will do a good job and avert these embarrassing incidents.
Right. Charles, let me bring you into the next story in Daily Independent. We're talking about Telecom tariff hike here. Labour to stage nationwide protest next week, Tuesday. The Nigeria Labour Congress, they've had a meeting, an emergency meeting, and they decided that this 50% telecommunications tariff hike cannot be allowed to stay. They said it is insensitive to the people of Nigeria at this point. When you look at this story, two sides. The telecoms company have a point. They can no longer sustain their businesses at this rate. Labour on the other side says Nigerians are overburdened with tough economic conditions. So what do you actually do? How do you see this playing out? Although a lot of people think Labour has lost credibility, how far can they go with this?
Well, Nigerians have been protesting silently and loudly against the tariff increase, but the reality is that it has become absolutely necessary. Now the Nigeria Labour Congress is insisting that the 50% hike is too much, even though the telecoms companies on their part will think that, okay, they're being shortchanged a little bit here, but they can actually go with that. Well, Labour says they will protest. Yes, there is freedom of association, there is freedom of expression. It is well within their right. But the impact that protest is going to make on the reality of the hikes in tariff, that I cannot guarantee. In fact, the drum has actually changed its beat. Initially, NLC said they would boycott the services of the telecoms companies, and I was wondering how is that going to work out, because phone calls, social media, and of course messaging services have become part and parcel of our lives. We cannot divorce ourselves from that. So, well, they will protest, they will rally, but then the impact that is going to have on the reality, I cannot definitely guarantee.
Yeah, we cannot say. Anything to add, Adesua, Igor?
Well, I mean, I think Charles has basically said it all there. We do need these tariffs to be increased, and A lot of these actions, you know, I think Nigerians have lost confidence that these strikes are actually for their benefit or for the people's benefit, or actually, you know, move the needle.
Well, on the flip side, I would add that the tariffs, whether electricity tariffs, whether it's increase in fuel and electricity, Nigerians indeed are overburdened. And so here, NLC will have a case, and whether they will have the sympathy of Nigerians to join the strike is a different ball game. But indeed, people are really tired and people are, you know, a bit frustrated.
All right, let's look at other headlines. The Guardian newspaper. Spike in ailments pushes Nigerians' care funding gap to 8.6 trillion naira. We also have Tinubu blurring the line between state power and personal ambition, according to Atiku. Then in Oyo and Ekiti State, Sultan backs Sharia law for those states. Then let's move on to the Punch newspaper. This one you're laughing, we'll get back to that. The Punch, PDP governors plan summit as leaders exchange blows at BOT meeting. Expulsion, NMP woos Arebo Shala, APC disowns Oyetala's governorship posters. And then we have JAM suspends law admission in Kwasu, Redeemers Varsity 6 others. And still on the Sharia law in the Southwest, Gani Adams faults Sultan's backing for Sharia in the Southwest. Then on to international headlines, Daily Graphic. Debt restructuring, Ghana gains $2.8 billion. Under the terms of a new agreement, Ghana will receive debt service relief of $2.8 billion during the International Monetary Fund's supported program period, enabling the government to redirect financial resources to economic recovery initiatives. It's interesting, you know, many African countries in debt. You would think that Ghana is just a population of 34.12 million people that they can manage themselves, but everybody's in debt. Citizen newspaper this morning, DRC, Angie, how dare you? What a dramatic headline. Angie Mosheka is the South African Minister of Defense. Yes. She was billed to meet parliamentarians to discuss the death of 13 soldiers in the Democratic Republic of Congo from South Africa. MPs flew from all over the country into Cape Town for this important meeting. But Angie cancelled at the 11th hour for fear of facing difficult questions.
She chickened out.
Says, part of the talk is that some say, yes, she did. Some say that South African troops should not be in the DRC. It was a bad idea. Deployment was said to have had many problems, including lack of resources and food for soldiers. I mean, that's why you were saying something, accountability calling on Angie.
Yes, I know. You know what? She chickened out, and I think it's an absolute shame. And one of the people who's calling for South Africa to not even be present in the DRC is the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, who has responded to Cyril Ramaphosa with a tweet on X that is absolutely scathing. He used fighting words. He said that South Africa does not have a role there, that they have no place to be the mediators. He also said that if South Africa prefers confrontation, Rwanda will deal with that matter in that context on any day. He said the South African president is lying and trying to save face with his people, and he has never made any demands of Rwanda. This is a crisis that can spread to a regional crisis. It's something we do not want in Africa. We do not want what is going on in the DRC to spill out beyond that. And also, there is also questions. Why is South Africa in the Democratic Republic of Congo?
Well, they are part of the United Nations peacekeeping missions, and Adesua, this is Africa. Africans have to intervene in DRC. Paul Kagame has been fingered for so many years for supporting the M23 rebels who are destabilizing parts of Democratic Republic of Congo. So this is not a confrontation. You can jump in, Charles and Eagle. African leaders have to do something about Democratic Republic of Congo. A rich country, but totally in shambles. And this has been going on for so many years.
I have always wondered why the African Union has stood aside and watched the situation in the Democratic Republic of Congo deteriorate to this point. And now, you know, it's almost sparking a regional conflict involving both East and Southern Africa. It's Rwanda versus the Democratic Republic of Congo, and now Paul Kagame and Cyril Ramaphosa, although the two men are said to have resolved that peace talks are necessary, but that saber rattling between the two men actually makes me very skeptical about how effective that will be. So right now it's time for the rest of Africa to step in and do something very, very crucial to arrest the situation in the DRC. Meanwhile, in South Africa, you know, besides the minister, the South African, the chief of the South African Air Force, Lieutenant General Wiseman Mbambo, and the chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Lawrence Mbatha, were pictured at the golf course, you know, having fun, while the rest of the country was mourning the death of 13 South African soldiers, and they are also coming under very scathing criticism among their own compatriots.
Okay, I would like to just put a bit of
situation.
Yeah, I would like to put a bit of small context.
Very briefly, Iyo.
Yeah, a bit of context in this. Why is Rwanda getting involved in the conflict in DRC? Now, if you look at Paul Kagame was a rebel leader who also defended the Tutsi. He's a Tutsi, and his argument is that there are Tutsis in that part of DRC. Don't forget
FDR.
Goma. Yeah, don't forget Goma is the second largest city in DRC, and DRC has, you know, large natural resources, large deposit of natural resources.
But people have argued for years that he's using that as an excuse
yes,
to take
to
the
also
resources.
mine. You know,
but there are
DRC.
Hutu extremists in the DRC, and the M23 are led by lots of Tutsis. So there's complexities here.
Oh, okay, that figures, doesn't it?
I wish we had more time, but we cannot continue. We need an hour to have a paper discussion, right?
Absolutely.
So much to say, but we will have to leave it here. Unfortunately, Iyo Akerega, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
And thank you so much, Dr. Comfort. Well, glad to have you over there in Lagos. We're also expecting you back in Abuja.
Again?
Did I say comfort again? I think I need a recalibration of my
I think your
hair.
voice probably gives him comfort. It just comforts him first thing in the morning. It's lovely to have you join us from the Lagos studio. We'll be waiting for you to come back. And that's all the time we have for you here on Daybreak. It's goodbye from me. I'm Adesua Giwa Osage.
Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. I'm Charles Eruka. Goodbye.